Welcome to the deep dive.
This is where we really dig into source material. Could be articles, notes, transcripts, and pull out those key insights for you.
Yeah, the kind of our way of getting you the core information, hopefully finding some surprising details, and having a conversation that, well, keeps you listening.
And today we're looking at a story it's incredibly tough, but really important to understand.
We are. It's the story of Fallon Farinacci. She's a survivor of just a horrific home invasion, one that tragically took the lives of her parents.
And the source material for this, it comes right from Fallon herself. We're using excerpts from a YouTube transcript where she tells her own story.
Hearing it through her words, even in transcript form, it's profoundly affecting.
Definitely. So our mission really is to understand what Fallon went through, to look hard at the systemic failures her story brings to light, and also to see the meaning and the action she's found through her advocacy.
Right, it's not just recounting events. It's about finding the lessons, the calls to action within this harrowing account. Okay, so let's start in the beginning. Fallon's story starts in St. H. That's a rural community outside Winnipeg in Canada, a place she still feels deeply connected to.
Yeah, she describes it as, really close-knit. Fallon is Red River Metis, and her dad was apparently key in fostering pride in her Indigenous heritage.
And you could sort of feel the warmth when she talks about growing up there. Culture wasn't some separate thing. It was just life, family, the kitchen table. It sounds quite idyllic, actually.
It really does. But then, this shadow appears, November 1992. A man from the community, Fallon calls him the stalker. He starts crossing boundaries, as she puts it.
Crossing boundaries. What did that look like at first?
Well, she talks about one specific time. He called their house because he heard her mom went to a coworker's birthday party.
Okay. Bit strange, maybe.
Yeah, and then he asks her mother where his birthday cake was.
His cake? Okay, that's unsettling.
Right. Fallon says her mom felt uncomfortable right away, tried to brush it off, mentioned the kids, bingo, trying to get off the phone.
But he didn't let it go.
No. He called back, and that's when the threat came. Just chilling. He told her mom she wouldn't live to see her next birthday, and that he wouldn't live to see his.
Wow.
And Fallon says that was it. That crossed the last boundary. The family knew, okay, this is deadly serious.
Absolutely. A direct threat on her life.
So what did they do?
Immediately called the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the stalker. He was actually brought before a judge that same evening.
So the system kicked in, at least initially. But this is where, according to Fallon's account, the first big problems start.
Exactly. The transcript points this out clearly. The RCMP officers who took him to the judge, they failed to tell the judge that Fallon's parents had specifically said they were worried this guy had a .22 rifle.
They knew about a gun concern and didn't pass it on. That's fundamental, isn't it? Step one.
It feels like it. And the result was immediate. No order to seize weapons, no search of his place. He was just released. Unbelievable. So, law enforcement knows about the threat, the family's warned about a weapon, and he's back out there. Did the threats continue?
They did. Fallon says through December 92 into January 93, her mom kept hearing from people in the community that this guy still wanted to kill her and her husband.
And she didn't just sit back. She took more action, right?
Yes. She wrote a letter, sent it to the RCMP.
Okay.
In it, she said again, we're worried about the .22 rifle, and she added she was now also concerned he might have a handgun.
And same. Okay. Let me guess, based on how this is going.
Yeah. Another just devastating point from the source.
Yeah.
That letter, it was never filed. It never got in front of a judge.
So a direct plea, more specific information,
Yeah.
just lost in the shuffle.
Seems like it. And it gets even more disturbing when you look at his history, which the transcript mentions.
What was that?
He had 13 prior convictions. And get this, the same RCMP station had actually fought against him getting bail back in 1990. They'd said he was a danger to the community.
Wait, so they knew he was dangerous previously. They argued against his release then, but now, with specific death threats and weapon concerns from the family, the response is just lacking.
It's a stark contrast. A real pattern of disregard seems to be emerging here.
And then things got even stranger, right?
Yeah.
January 93, the case ends up with a family crown attorney.
Yeah, a family crown attorney.
Not criminal, for death threats.
Exactly. Fallon points this out. This wasn't custody. It was threats to life. Criminal court stuff. The source says it was called human error. But Fallon, she questions that, especially considering what happened next.
What did the family attorney suggest?
Mediation. A mediation session between Fallon's terrified mother and the man who had threatened to kill her.
Mediation. Sorry, that just That makes zero sense. How could that even be proposed?
Fallon says it baffles her mind. I mean, why would her mom ever agree to sit down with him? She felt it was, more than human error, like a fundamental failure to grasp the danger.
And the errors just kept piling up. There was an information leak.
Yeah, the source mentions a temporary law clerk accidentally mailed the stalker's info to Fallon's mother. And then, somehow, the stalker got hold of her mother's information too.
Wow. So security breach on top of everything else.
Right. And Fallon reflects on this, how laws meant to protect women weren't always used effectively, and her grandmother's heartbreaking comment that a restraining order is just, a piece of paper, only useful after it's broken.
It just highlights that feeling of being completely exposed, unprotected.
No.
So the mediation was scheduled for January 26th. Her mom refused to go.
Understandably, yes, she refused. And the consequence, the stalker was released again.
And the very next day.
January 27th, just after midnight. He showed up at their house, knocked on the door.
Oh, God. Who answered?
Fallon's older brother, Carson. He was 17. And Fallon recounts, he saw the stalker standing there holding that same .22 rifle, the one the family had been warning the police about for months.
The exact weapon they tried to get taken away, now at their door.
The terror just began right then. The stalker forced Carson downstairs, tied him up, and then just horrifically verbally tortured him for hours, talking about killing his parents, his obsession with their mom.
And then forced him to write a suicide note.
Yeah.
For the stalker himself.
Yes. The psychological torment is just unthinkable.
And then what happened?
Around 2:30 in the morning, the stalker went upstairs, said he was going to do the deed. Carson heard his dad yell out in French. Then a gunshot. His father was killed instantly.
And that gunshot woke up Fallon, who was 9, and her little brother, Clinton, 5.
Yes. Fallon tried to go to her parents' room, but felt someone pushing back on the door. Her instinct, even as a little kid, was call 911. She tried, but dialed the wrong number by accident. Then she saw a shadow coming towards her, dropped the phone, ran, hid in the basement.
But Carson upstairs. He saw a chance then.
He did. That first gunshot, around 2:30 a.m., he managed to escape through a basement window.
Thank goodness. Where did he go?
Ran to his parents' best friend's house nearby. And from there, he called 911. He told them everything. Home invasion, man with a gun, a shot fired, his little sister and brother still inside.
Okay, so now the police know. Active shooter, hostages, kids inside. A clear, urgent emergency. How did the system respond this time?
And this part of Fallon's story, it reveals another layer of just horrifying failure, specifically in the emergency response. The 911 dispatcher calls the local RCMP station, but, and this is shocking, that station, 45 minutes away, was closed at 2 a.m.
Closed? How can a police station be closed during an active crisis like this?
It's hard to fathom. So the dispatcher calls the constable who is on duty, and his instruction to the responding officers, go out to the Paul residence and see if you can get him to come out and talk to him.
Talk to him. He just shot someone. He's holding children. That's completely out of touch with the reality of the situation.
It seems to ignore everything Carson reported. And this constable, he was the only trained hostage negotiator for that whole station.
The negotiator didn't go himself. Didn't call SWAT. Backup. Anything.
No, he didn't go. Didn't call for SWAT or backup. And then the most unbelievable detail Fallon shares.
Right.
Instead of managing this life and death crisis he was responsible for, the constable accidentally fell back to sleep.
He fell asleep.
Yeah.
During a hostage negotiation he was supposed to be overseeing it.
That's the account. It speaks to a level of negligence, systemic and individual, that's just staggering. Fallon herself expresses disbelief at this level of disregard.
So while the negotiator is asleep, what's happening inside the house? In the basement.
Pure terror. The stalker was down there with Fallon, Clinton, and their mother. He was agitated, losing his mind, apparently partly because Carson had escaped and he couldn't find him.
Oh, yeah.
And then he makes this absolutely horrific demand. He tells Fallon's mother she has to choose. Which child dies next, Fallon or Clinton, if they can't find Carson, who wasn't even there?
Choose. Her child. Oh, my God. What did her mother do?
Her courage in that moment. Fallon describes her whispering on the stairs, hugging her tight, saying, I'm going to go upstairs with him. You stay down here and call for help. Trying to shield them right to the end.
Oh, her poor mother. So after she went upstairs, Fallon tried to call again?
Yes. She went for the phone, but it was on the floor. The cord was ripped out of the wall.
Oh, no.
And Fallon, being 9, she remembers being scared she'd get electrocuted if she plugged it back in. A fear she, gives herself grace for now looking back.
Of course. Just a child's fear in an impossible situation.
So she and Clinton stayed hidden, and somehow they eventually fell asleep down there.
Upstairs, her mother was alone with him for 2 hours.
2 agonizing hours. He forced her to write a note saying the kids should go to her sister and including some of his own grievances. Then, around 5:30 a.m., the police outside finally make phone contact. Her mother answers.
What could she even say?
She gave very guarded answers. Fallon recounts, like, maybe, I don't know. Probably trying desperately not to provoke him. He didn't stop her talking, though. She told the officers, "Can you call me back in the morning? I have to go." And they said, "Help is on the way."
But Fallon's words echo here.
Yeah.
No real help coming at all.
Seems that way. The lack of urgency just continued. At 5:30 a.m., the two officers outside are told to go get Carson, the boy who escaped hours ago. They bring him to a command post, which was finally being set up.
Finally. How far into this?
3 hours. 3 hours in, and they're setting up a command post, not even in their community, but 8-10 minutes away.
3 hours.
And Carson describes watching them. No sense of urgency. Using a ruler to draw a map of the house. Still no SWAT team at the scene. Still no assault plan underway, it seems.
Unbelievable. Back inside the house, Fallon wakes up again. Around 5:30, 6 a.m.
She thinks maybe another gunshot woke her. She heard her mother through the door saying, "Why do you have to shoot me? You already shot me in the arm."
Shot her in the arm. So she'd already been wounded.
Yes. Fallon thinks now maybe her mom thought it was police outside the door trying to tell them she was hurt.
Oh, God. So Fallon and Clinton, terrified, they run into their parents' bedroom.
Yes. And Fallon tries 911 again, asks for 3 ambulances. She still doesn't know Carson got out. And then another just awful detail from the source.
Wasn't that?
A 911 dispatcher hung up on her.
Hung up on a child in that situation asking for ambulances?
Yeah.
I have no words for that level of failure.
It's staggering. Inside the bedroom, Fallon sees her father, tries to wake him, thinks he'll help, but then realizes after Clinton reacts that he's gone. She leaves him be. Then, just after 6 a.m., her mother tries to leave the bedroom.
Yeah.
He shot her again, shoulder, with the .22. The bullet apparently spiraled, severed her spinal cord. Fallon describes her mother dying right there in front of her and Clinton.
Witnessing that as children.
The stalker stayed in the bedroom after that. Fallon heard the gun again, one last time. He'd killed himself on her childhood bedroom floor.
But Fallon and Clinton didn't know he was dead.
No. They stayed in the parents' room, terrified. Their mom's alarm went off at 7 a.m. for school. Fallon took the phone off the hook, scared the sound would bring him in. They hid on the floor, other side of the bed.
And Fallon shares something incredibly raw about that time.
Yeah, it's deeply humanizing and awful. She had a broken arm in a cast, like a bag.
Mm-hmm.
She desperately needed the bathroom, and she had to choose. Risk crossing her mother's body, thinking the killer might still be alive in the next room, or use the garbage bag on the floor. She talks about the mortification, thinking about police finding that. It just shows the sheer terror and degradation of it all.
And after all that, the hours of terror, the deaths, when did the police finally go in?
Not until 8:30 a.m., hours after the attack started, hours after the killer was dead.
8:30 a.m.
They came in yelling, "Weapons down here," then calling out, "This one's gone," for her father, her mother, and the stalker.
How did the kids get out?
2 paramedics came in. They were community members, fathers of friends. They just threw blankets over Fallon and Clinton and carried them out.
She mentioned hearing someone speak as she was carried out.
Yeah, she heard a man's voice, thought it was Carson, felt this huge wave of relief. Oh my gosh, Carson's here. He's okay. Because she hadn't seen him since the night before.
They were taken to the hospital.
Yes, which was filled with community members, friends, all waiting. They were taken to a room and told their parents were dead.
Oh, the finality of that. In that moment, what does Fallon ask for?
It's just one thing. To see her best friend, Sheena, who she calls her sister now.
And that reunion.
She describes running to each other, just holding on like an anchor in the middle of everything falling apart.
Looking back at this whole sequence of events, Fallon's story just lays bare failure after failure.
It really does. It's a pattern. Failing to listen to the victim's concerns, especially about weapons, losing crucial information like that letter, misclassifying the case, proposing something as inappropriate as mediation.
Right. And then the response during the actual crisis. The station being closed, the negotiator falling asleep, the lack of urgency, no SWAT, 9/11 hanging up.
It's a cascade of errors. It really goes beyond individual mistakes, doesn't it? It points to deeper systemic problems.
And then, insult to injury. The source mentions the official inquiry afterward. The judge apparently blamed the townspeople for not doing more.
Yeah, questioning them instead of law enforcement, whose actual job is protection. And Fallon even recounted an officer suggesting her mother's reaction to the stalker throwing the cake away somehow started it all, blaming the victim.
Just unbelievable. The trauma didn't end that night, did it? The ripple effect on the children.
No, it continued. They had to move within a month, live with their aunt, leave their community. Fallon didn't want to go. And then Carson, he turned 18 just 2 months later.
2 months after losing his parents like that. And turning 18 meant.
He aged out of the child welfare system's support structure, despite everything he just endured.
Was there any support?
Therapy. Fallon mentions one single session of play-based therapy. That was it. No ongoing professional trauma support was arranged for them. And Carson, as a legal adult, would have had to find and fight for that himself. Which, as Fallon points out, how many traumatized 18-year-olds can do that?
So little support after so much trauma. And the consequence. It's heartbreaking.
Utterly. Carson, her older brother, her anchor, he took his own life. He didn't live to see 38.
Oh, no.
Fallon says losing him was even harder than losing her parents. He was her everything. And then the tragedy compounded.
Her younger brother.
Clinton, his mental health declined. And in November 2023, he also took his own life, also before reaching 38.
Both of them. Both brothers gone, both before 38. That's almost impossible to comprehend.
Fallon reflects on this, how after Carson died, she learned life goes on and maybe tried to rush through the grief with Clinton, which she now realizes doesn't work. And she's left with this profound question, why am I still here? Why me? Constantly searching for her purpose.
And somehow, out of all this unimaginable loss, she has found a purpose. Through advocacy. It wasn't immediate, though.
No, she talks about her own mental health journey, not wanting to talk about it initially, scared of being seen as crazy.
But she had support.
Yes, she credits her husband, her kids, and therapy. But a real turning point came in 2017. Her cousin told her their parents' names were showing up in research on missing and murdered Indigenous people, MMIP.
Right.
And she learned about grassroots groups who'd been fighting for answers for years. Then she was asked if she'd consider testifying at the National Inquiry for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, MMIWG.
The MMIWG inquiry. It's a huge platform, a national reckoning.
Absolutely. A critical effort in Canada to document this systemic violence. Fallon agreed. She wanted her story out there to help hold the government accountable.
And testifying, meeting other families, that must have been incredibly powerful and probably painful, too.
Definitely pivotal. She realized her family's story, the system's failures. It wasn't unique. It was echoed in the stories of so many other Indigenous people, communities. Hearing those similar accounts, she said, shook her to her core.
It reframed her personal trauma into a shared systemic experience.
Right. She joined the National Family Advisory Circle in 2019, met more families, more survivors, and it just solidified her belief that more needs to be done and more needs to be said, and these people need to be heard.
And she describes this moment of clarity after the inquiry's final report was handed over, telling her husband, I get it, I'm the girl.
Yeah, statistically, maybe she shouldn't have survived. She is the statistic. The system failed, but who made it through? The one the system is up against.
And she connects this to her spirit name, White Thunder Woman. I'm here to make a lot of noise. Realizing she was making noise just by surviving and speaking out.
Her voice itself became her power.
And that power fuels her advocacy now. What kind of work is she doing?
It's varied. Co-hosting a decolonial reading circle, getting involved with Abbey House, that's a transitional home for Indigenous women. She organized a fundraiser that raised $10,000 in 24 hours. Started a walk for May 5th, which is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Month. Finding community in St. Catharines has been huge for her mental health, too.
And she has a direct message for you, the listener. A challenge, really.
She asks, point blank, now that you've heard my story, what will you do with it?
It's not passive. She wants action.
Yeah. Talk with Indigenous people, not about them, without them. Show up. Go to the gatherings, the events, like that May 5th walk. Support needs to be ongoing, she stresses, not just a reaction to one story.
And if people feel hesitant, like they might not belong.
She addresses that directly, says listeners would be welcome. Change has to happen together, power in numbers, solidarity.
She wants people to channel the energy from hearing her story into helping other families, those still searching, still fighting the system. Her justice isn't just about her past, it's about her story sparking action for others now.
And she gives advice, too, for anyone feeling threatened based on her family's experience. Tell people, friends, family. Advocate for yourself in the system. And always trust your gut, especially women who are so often dismissed as overreacting.
Don't feel like you're burdening people by sharing your fears. She insists they will care.
And she's vulnerable about her own fears now, that her advocacy might make her a target, that she might piss someone off, that feeling of isolation. But the message she wants out there is we care. Community cares.
Her final point is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Her story happened in the 90s, but the ripple effect isn't over. It impacted her, her brothers, the whole community. And it's still happening to others.
Right. When you hear about a missing Indigenous woman, remember the person, daughter, mother, sister, auntie, a human being, part of a community.
She also makes a really challenging point about her own identity, acknowledging she's white passing.
Yeah, and she asks listeners directly, would you listen as intently if I look different? It's a powerful check on our own biases and perceptions.
Just a reminder, the source-mentioned resources, like that fundraiser, will be linked in the notes for this deep dive.
So we've really dug into Fallon Farinacci's story today, guided by her own words. It's harrowing, yes, but it exposes these stark, devastating patterns of systemic failure, failures to listen, failures in procedure, failures in basic emergency response.
And why does this matter to you, listening now? Because it's a painful, powerful example of how system flaws have real, catastrophic, multi-generational costs, especially for Indigenous communities. It shows the depth of trauma, but also, incredibly, the resilience and strength found in community in turning that pain into purpose.
Which brings us right back to Fallon's question. It's the question we leave you with. Now that you've heard her story, what will you do with it?
How do you move from just hearing to listening, learning, and actually supporting Indigenous voices seeking justice and healing? What action will you take?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.